Hello YouTube, it's the Janky Commander here. Today I'll be going over my mono black devotion control pauper deck. So to begin with, we have 18 basic swamps for our land base. You could put maybe 3 Bajuka Bogs, but I don't know, it's up to you. Then for 1-drops, we have 4 copies of Duress to look at our opponent's hand. Make them discard a non-land, non-creature card. 2 copies of Divest. This is only hits creatures and artifacts, but when you go up against affinity like my store, my LGS has a lot of affinity, so hitting artifacts to hit their artifact lands out of hand is really nice. 4 Dark Rituals for that 3 mana. Doomblade to kill off non-black creatures. In the mirror match, these are usually one of the first cards to come out. 4 Grasps of Darkness. Give a creature -4/-4, another kill spell. Quimbage Witches. Tap it, deal 1 damage to any target, and then they deal 1 damage of an opponent's choice to any target. So you get to shoot something for 1, they get to shoot something for 1 as well. We have 4 of these. It's double black, so puts our devotion to 2. Dulthy Slayer, 2/2 for 2 with Shadow, which can't be blocked and can only block creatures with Shadow. And attacks each turn, so every turn it's almost guaranteed 2 damage. Really fun card, we have a play set of them. Also, 2 black devotion. For 3-drops, we have Chittering Rats, 2/2 for 3. But when it comes into play, target opponent puts a card from his or her hand on top of his or her library. Set them back a turn, especially when they want to be drawing a lot of cards. They can't. Of course, Gurmag Angler, the big 5/5 fish for potentially 1. This helps us. We have 4. It's our biggest creature, and having that 5 toughness you will see comes in handy. Then, of course, a big finisher is Grey Merchant of Asphodel. Gain X life, or drain X life, where X is your devotion to black. So an opponent loses X life, you gain X life. That's why all our creatures try and have 2 black mana symbols, which is our devotion. Having that big toughness comes in play for Pestilence. It's an enchantment, but it says pay 1 black mana, do 1 damage to all creatures and all players. At the end of turn, if there are no creatures in play, sacrifice it. When playing this, you have to do all the activations 1 at a time. Otherwise, you can get really messed up, and a lot of bad things can happen if you don't do it 1 at a time. Also, if there are no creatures in play at the end of turn, so if you're going to wipe the board with this, do it at the end, or do it in response to a creature coming into play or being cast. Also, 1 damage to each creature and each player. That's why Grey Merchants and our Gurmag Anglers come in really nice, really big creatures to survive. We run 2 of these main board. Our final card for the deck, Tendrils of Corruption. These come out of the main board most of the time because they're a little slow, but they're good if you get into a tight pinch. Tendrils deals X damage to target creature. You gain X life, where X is the number of swamps. It's kind of like a Grey Merchant, but equal to the number of swamps you have. That's the main deck. And onto the sideboard. We have 2 more Pestilence. Really good against elves and tokens. It's a board sweeper. We have 4 Geth's Verdict. These are just target player sacrifices a creature and loses 1 life. A little bit better than Diabolic Edict because the additional lose a life. but I picked these up because I don't have the money to afford a full play set of Chainer's Edict, which just got announced for being reprinted in Ultimate Masters. But you could switch these out easily for Diabolic Edict or Chainer's Edict. Just a way to deal with boggles. Evankar's Justice. 2 damage to each creature, each player. Buyback. This card can sweep the board. That comes in against elves a lot of times. 3 copies of Shrivel. All creatures get -1/-1 till end of turn. This comes in against elves and sometimes boggles, because boggles protects their board with little 1/1s. But which this will kill. The reason why it comes in against elves is because elves runs Rapid Vigor, regenerate each creature. Well, if they die because they have 0 power or 0 toughness, the regenerate does not happen. 2 Nile Spell Bombs to deal with graveyards, and at worst, it's pay 2 mana, draw a card, exile a graveyard. This is 1v games against Inside Out combo. And then finally 2 Disfigures, just to deal with little creatures. If you need the extra removal, you're probably bringing in 2 Pestilence, 2 Disfigures in the mirror match, or you're bringing in the Spell Bombs instead of Disfigure. Weak points for the deck are probably definitely the fact that we rely on 2 big cards to win the game, and that's Grey Merchant of Asphodel and Pestilence. It's kind of hard to win the game without them, unless you have a bunch of your like Gurmags or the Slayers. But decks it loses to is Burn. That is a hard deck to beat, and it loses to mono. No, not mono blue. It can beat mono blue pretty easily because they have to keep a lot of stuff off the board. But it loses to blue-black control because their blue-black control's win con is Evankar's Justice buyback usually. With the, I believe it's Pristine Talisman, make a colorless mana, gain a life. But yeah, that's my mono-black control Devotion Pauper deck.